My little sister has gotten into the doing culture. She uses test papers as a skirt and a red scarf as a tube top. She even posted those private photos online, just to earn money for in-game purchases. When I found out, I took her phone away and spent over 2 hours trying to talk some sense into her. But my mother just smiled calmly upon hearing this. Oh, your sister is really going places, making money at such a young age. Later, my sister mixed the sanitary pad into the spicy hot pot and fed it to me. I was so disgusted I vomited for 3 days and gave my sister another good scolding. Yet, my entire family took my younger sister's side. My mom put her arm around my sister's shoulders. Your sister is still young. It was just a little mischief, wasn't it? As the older sister, can't you just let it go and be the bigger person? My dad said the same thing. Blood replenishes iron. Your sister is doing this for your own good. If you dare bully your sister again, I'll use my belt on you. After that, my sister's behavior became increasingly extreme. She got words tattooed on her eyeball, and to be trendy, she even wanted to hook up with a guy who has HIV. I rushed to the motel and dragged my sister back home, kicking and screaming, but then she flew into a rage at me right there in the house. Irene, how can you be so clueless? Do you even know what's in style? If I could catch HIV, I'd be the ultimate trendsetter of our generation. To get back at me, my own sister gave my apartment address to that sick old man. The old man broke into my home, assaulted me, and infected me with HIV. Every day is agony, a living hell I can't escape. Later, I developed severe depression. I jumped from the roof of my apartment building. After my rebirth, I found myself back on the day my sister sold my photos for money. This time, a faint smile played on my lips. Mom, Zena is an adult now. She can make her own decisions. It's just about following the trends. With Zena's looks, she's bound to be at the forefront of fashion. Irene, look at these photos I found on your sister's phone, and these bank transfer records. What on earth is going on? My mom was sitting on the sofa, clutching my sister's phone, and nudging my shoulder urgently with her hand. At this moment, a jolt of energy shot through my body. It suddenly dawned on me. I had been reborn, in my previous life. It was also on this very day, my mother secretly went through my sister's phone and discovered she was running some kind of social media account. She had even taken a lot of risque photos and was sending them to online strangers for money. After some digging, I found out my little sister has gotten into the Manjiao culture. What's more, she's joined a bunch of social group chats. Those groups are full of grown men who are constantly asking for photos. They ask for all sorts of pictures, like ones with little white socks, black stockings, using a red scarf as a tube top, or even using test papers as a skirt. All the girl has to do is send those photos over, and she'll get $50 for each one. My younger sister, Zena, just turned 18 this year. She's a senior in high school, a crucial time in her life. When I found out about this, I was shaking with anger. I'm terrified she won't look after herself and will ruin her life during this pivotal final year of high school. But I never could have imagined, in my past life, I poured my whole heart into being a good older sister. All I got in return was my sister's betrayal and the scornful looks from my entire family. Just thinking about that past life, the moment I jumped from the rooftop, the agony of shattered bones, sent an involuntary chill down my spine, seeing my continued silence. My mother was so furious she pinched my thigh hard. Irene, are you even listening? I'm talking to you about your sister. Just look at your sister's phone, all these private photos. What kind of nonsense is this? And those stockings, they look downright indecent. And so many men are sending her money. Has your sister gone astray? As her older sister, don't you care about her at all? Hearing my mom's angry shout, I stood up impatiently. She's always like this. Whenever she finds something wrong with my sister, she has to vent to me about it. Then she eggs me on to step in and discipline her. At that moment, I frowned with a touch of annoyance. Mom, Zena's all grown up now. Could you show a little more respect for her privacy? Taking Zena's phone without asking, that's a violation of her privacy. Besides, Zena turned 18 last month. She can make her own decisions. If you want to ask about the photos or the money transfer, go ask her yourself. Seeing my impatient attitude, my mom got so angry she sat down on the sofa and yelled at me for half an hour. Selfish brat, ungrateful wretch, I never should have brought a monster like you into this world. Zena is your own flesh and blood, your sister, and you don't care about her in the slightest. Ugh, the child is father of the man. You've been distant from me since you were little. You're not even fit to lick Zena's boots. In my mother's eyes, it's as if Zena is her only daughter. I am a full 7 years older than my younger sister. The year I was born, my mother, disappointed that I was a girl, sent me to live with my grandmother in the countryside. She and my father both left to find work in the city, not returning to our hometown for years at a time. It wasn't until I turned 9 and had to start primary school in the city that my mother reluctantly brought me to live in their urban home. By that time, my younger sister was already 2 years old. Because of my sister's birth, my mom became a full-time homemaker. When I was little, she would complain at home every day, saying she couldn't handle 2 kids on her own. I asked my mom, then why don't you send your sister to the countryside and bring her back when she starts school? To my surprise, my mother blurted out, wouldn't she just turn into a wild child then? Zena is my pride and joy. She's not like those other wild kids. Back then, a single casual remark from her was enough to pierce my heart. To fit into this family, I took on all the household chores from a young age. Even in university, I never asked my parents for living expenses, supporting myself through work-study programs. This continued even after graduation. Now that I'm working, even though my monthly salary is only 8,000 yuan, I still give 5,000 to my mom as a living allowance. Looking back now, I was truly foolish in my past life, trying to earn love through relentless sacrifice. Little did I know, someone who doesn't love you will always treat you like a fool. That's why, in my past life, even after that man assaulted me and I contracted HIV, and then, that person posted the video of me online, I was so enraged and heartbroken that I fell into depression and wanted to go to the police station to file a report. But when my parents found out that my sister was the one who gave that man the address to my rental apartment, fearing my sister would be implicated, they not only forbade me from calling the police, but also forcibly committed me to a psychiatric hospital. Inside the psychiatric hospital, I endured inhuman torment every day, forced to take medication constantly, and to top it off, Zena would deliberately send me infuriating messages on WeChat. She bombards me daily with the video of my assault, and every vile, hateful comment from online trolls. Zena forwards all of it to me. The thought of it makes my hands clench into fists with rage. I hate it. I truly, deeply hate it. My hatred isn't just for Zena, it extends to my mother and my father as well. Since fate has given me a second chance at life, I swear I'll make them pay. I'll grind their entire family to dust. It was a little after 8 in the evening when my mom finished making dinner. Right about then, my dad had just gotten home from work, and Zena had just gotten back from school. The moment Zena walked through the door, my mom warmly helped her with her slippers and took her coat. Sitting at the dining table, my mom thought for a long time. Finally, with a forced smile, she tentatively asked my younger sister, Zena, I looked at your phone today. Some of the photos you've taken, aren't they a bit too revealing? And what's the deal with all those money transfers from boys? I didn't mean anything by it, Zena. I'm just worried you'll get into trouble. Hearing this, Zena was furious. She threw the chopsticks in her hand right at my mother's face. You old hag, are you insane? Why did you snoop through my phone? Can you just not be so controlling? Besides, this is slow feet culture, you get it, so tacky and low class. My parents have spoiled Zena rotten. Her temper is like a firecracker. It goes off at the slightest spark. Right now, Zena is still relentlessly bad-mouthing my mom. You old hag, are you so bored at home you're getting restless? If you love snooping through my phone so much, why don't you buy me a new one? Trash. If a man sends me money, that's my skill. You're just jealous, you psycho. What Zena said was incredibly vicious, but my dad didn't do a thing about it. My dad kept talking while he was eating. Linda, if you ask me, you're just being too controlling. She's just taking a few pictures. What's the big deal? Can't you give the kid a little freedom? I chimed in. Exactly, Mom, I've been telling you. You shouldn't be snooping into your sister's private life. Besides, I've heard of the whole slow living trend online. It's really popular with young people these days. Our Zena is so beautiful. Of course she's going to be at the cutting edge of style, right at the peak of what's trendy. My mother never could have imagined. Her well-intentioned warning to her younger sister, meant to steer Zena away from trouble, was met with nothing but scornful looks from the whole family. At that moment, my mother sat awkwardly at the dining table, biting the tip of her chopstick with her teeth, a look of grievance on her face. And this is only the beginning. In the end, the whole thing was only settled when my mom apologized to my sister and gave her an extra 1,000 yuan in pocket money. Then, about another 2 weeks went by. It happened to be a Sunday, and my sister's school was on break. My sister slipped into the kitchen with a mysterious air, insisting she was going to make lunch for the whole family. I knew exactly what she was up to. She was definitely going to make that bowl of her super blood-nourishing, bloody spicy hot pot again. Seeing this, I immediately shut my bedroom door. Then, I grabbed some lipstick and dabbed a red flush on my right cheek, pretending my face was swollen. My sister is bustling away in the kitchen. My mom and dad are sitting in the living room sipping tea, singing my sister's praises to the heavens. My mom murmured under her breath, "Oh my, our Zina is such a hard worker. At such a young age, she already knows to be filial to her parents and cook for the whole family." My dad said too, "Exactly. They say a daughter is her father's little snuggle bug. Our Zina, she's a full-on mink coat. She's the absolute apple of my eye." A moment later, Zina emerged from the kitchen. After toiling away in the kitchen for over 2 hours, she had somehow only managed to produce a single small bowl of malatang. The bowl was filled with vegetables, topped with a thick layer of chili oil that gave it a fiery red appearance, and, to top it off, there were 2 glistening strands of hair. They were stuck straight up on the rim of the bowl. My parents both frowned at the sight of the bowl of malatang, glistening with oil and heavy with spice. Zina recommended it to the whole family with a cold smirk. "Mom, Dad, I made this myself. It's just a small bowl. Come on, try it, there's a big surprise in here." Hearing this, my mom immediately walked to my bedroom door and knocked on it. Thump, thump asterisk, "Irene, come out here. Zina made you some spicy hot pot. You're the big sister, so come out and try a bite." It was the same in my past life. My dad and mom think Zina's cooking is a disaster. Neither of them would take the first bite, so they had to call me out to eat it. So, I sat down at the table, took one bite of the malatang, and immediately thought the flavor was off. It had a fishy, foul smell, along with a strange, astringent taste. Zina's malatang was completely vegetarian, yet it was overpowered by this heavy, fishy odor. I felt so nauseous I nearly gagged. Covering my mouth, I asked Zina if the ingredients she used weren't fresh, but seeing this, Zina burst out laughing. She said it was the most popular dish in their slow feet culture, Auntie's blood rice. However, she had created a modified version. She cooked the vegetables with a used sanitary pad, claiming it made the flavor more intense. The thought made me feel sick to my stomach all over again. At that moment, I walked slowly to the door and opened it. Meeting my mother's gaze, I immediately covered my cheek with my hand. "Mom, I can't eat. I've been feeling feverish these past couple of days, and my tooth is swollen. I can't keep anything down. Even drinking water hurts." As I spoke, I deliberately walked into the living room and stood before Zina. Immediately after, I lowered the hand that had been covering my face. Perhaps my makeup skills were too convincing, for my right cheek now appeared red and swollen. To the naked eye, it looked noticeably more prominent than the left, with the swelling even tinged with a faint, bruised hue. I said with a sigh, "It's all my fault, little sister. I guess I'm just not that lucky. My gums are inflamed, so I can't eat a thing, but I really have to praise you today. You're so young and you've already learned how to cook. Tell you what, I'll send you a 500 yuan red packet as a reward. How does that sound?" As soon as Zina saw I was about to send her a red envelope, she immediately waved her hand at me. All right, since you're being so appreciative, I'll cook for you again next time." "Mom, Dad, come quick, try the spicy hot pot I made. It's absolutely delicious and a total steal." Since Zina had let me off the hook, my mom couldn't very well say anything more. Looking a bit awkward, she shot my dad a glance. Then she went to the kitchen to fetch a small bowl. Next, my dad and mom sat down at the dining table. With less than 200 grams of spicy hot pot between them, each held a tiny bowl. Sharing the meager portion, I sat on the sofa, legs crossed, watching the whole scene unfold with a cold, detached stare. My mother picked up her chopsticks, gently plucked a single leaf of romaine lettuce, and carefully placed it in her mouth. Seeing this, my father had no choice but to brace himself. Holding his rice bowl, he took a tentative sip of the soup. Zina stood beside the dining table, watching and waiting with bated breath. "Come on, Mom, Dad, eat up. what are you doing, trying to feed a bird? My parents have always given in to our youngest daughter's every demand. My mom shut her eyes, steeled herself, and started shoveling the spicy hot pot into her mouth with her chopsticks. My dad, pinching his nose, downed the entire bowl of broth in one go. The two of them ate for about 5 or 6 minutes. I watched as they polished off every last bit of that bowl of spicy hot pot. Only then did I smile knowingly, raise an eyebrow, and give a light kiss. Mom, how's Zena's cooking? Is the food good? Dad, at least give us your thoughts on Zena's cooking. This is your precious little daughter's first time making a meal. Zena was also standing by, eager and waiting for my parents' feedback. My mom pursed her lips awkwardly, replying with a strange expression. The taste isn't bad. It looks quite red, but it's actually not spicy. It's just a bit fishy, huh? My dad was deliberately trying to smooth things over from the side. What fishy smell, I could tell with one sip. Our daughter definitely used dried shrimp to make this soup. That's the taste of seafood, you old woman, you don't know anything, my mom added. Zena, what kind of seafood did you use for the soup? I hope it wasn't spoiled. At that moment, Zena suddenly covered her mouth with her hand and burst into laughter. Ha ha ha, seafood, that stuff is so expensive. How could I possibly afford it? Mom, Dad, what I gave you to eat is actually something good, the #1 delicacy in our slow feet culture. I just tossed a big band-aid into the pot while I was cooking. Ha ha ha. Mom, Dad, so you've finally tried slow feet cuisine. Pretty cool and trendy, right? Hearing Zena's words, my parents were taken aback for a moment. Then, it dawned on my mom that Zena was on her period these past few days. My mom immediately stood up and hurried into the kitchen. After cooking, Zena left the kitchen looking like a war zone. As a result, a stark white piece of cotton cloth was still floating conspicuously in the pot. My mother stared wide-eyed, her gaze fixed intently on the stovetop. Immediately after, she gagged herself with her fingers and vomited all over the floor with a retching "ugh yeah" sound. At first, my dad didn't quite grasp what was happening, that is, until he walked into the kitchen. In an instant, our kitchen was transformed into a grotesque battleground where my parents were locked in a vomit-off. The two of them were crouched on the floor, taking turns retching. You retched, then I retched. Their sounds of sickness rose and fell in a wretched chorus, and vomit soon covered the floor. In mere moments, the room filled with a foul stench, a mix of sourness, fishiness, and a smell akin to fermenting chicken manure. My parents first vomited up the spicy hot pot, then a white, viscous fluid. In the end, what came out was a greenish liquid, much like bile. My mom pointed at Zena while retching. What? What are you doing? How can you cook with this disgusting stuff? Zena tilted her chin up with an air of arrogance, looking utterly unfazed. This is what's trending, don't you get it? In our slow step culture, this is actually really cool. Seriously, a bunch of squares. They have no idea what's trendy. At that moment, I also said loudly on purpose. Exactly, this is what's popular with the youth. Mom, Dad, don't overreact. It's not easy for Zena to cook for you. You really don't know how to appreciate your daughter. Besides, blood is a great source of iron. Zena is doing this for your own good. Not only is she helping you stay ahead of the trends, but she's also giving you a vitamin boost. Hearing my words and seeing Zena's attitude, my mom was so furious she was crying and throwing up at the same time. Even my dad, a tough guy pushing 50, started to get teary-eyed. His shoulders were trembling, of course. They probably weren't crying out of hurt feelings. More likely, it was from all the stomach acid they'd thrown up. Their insides must have been burning. My mom still couldn't wait to call 120. Then she and my dad both sprinted onto the ambulance and were rushed to the city hospital to get their stomachs pumped. After the bloody spicy hot pot incident, my dad and mom barely ate for a whole week. They only dared to drink a bag of milk each day. In just 7 days, both my dad and mom lost over 10 pounds each. My dad was completely and utterly disillusioned with Zena. With autumn just around the corner, my dad's construction site was about to start up again. He couldn't wait to move out of the house, figuring that out of sight meant out of mind. My mom, however, remained completely and utterly devoted to her precious daughter. Zena was in her final year of high school. To make sure her darling daughter got proper nutrition, my mom would wield her walk with gusto every single day, whipping up all sorts of delicious and creative meals. As for the slowfoot culture that Zena was so fond of, my mom found it hard to put her misgivings into words. She did say, however, that as long as Zena stopped making that bloody hemp paste, she would support her younger sister's hobby. Then, roughly another half a month or so passed. Then one day out of the blue, the police called my mom, asking her to come down to the station for a legal mediation. My mom rushed to the police station in a panic, only to find out that Zena had gotten into trouble again. The person who called the police was none other than the parent of one of Zena's classmates. Zena had started dating someone at school, a sophomore boy who was quite the looker. He had fair, delicate skin, wore black-framed glasses, and seemed like a quiet, well-mannered young man, and the ones who filed the report were, in fact, this boy's parents. Turns out, Zena got caught up in the slow feet trend again. She was dead set on getting her eyeball tattooed. In the slow feet subculture, there's this popular idea that couples in love should get each other's names tattooed on their eyeballs. To keep up with the trend, Zena dragged her boyfriend along, ready to get the words inscribed in her eye. But the guy was pretty timid and a bit of a scaredy cat. He couldn't bring himself to do it. But Zena was fearless. During the lunch break after school, Zena went to that boy's classroom. Then, she grabbed a blue pen, pried open the boy's eye, and tried to carve her name into his eyeball. But Zena had no sense of restraint, and the eyeball, what a crucial, yet incredibly delicate organ in the human body. Zena held the other person's head steady. Just as she brought the pen close to their eye, it suddenly started leaking. A huge spurt of blue ink shot out instantly, turning the boy's left eye into something straight out of Avatar. The boy clutched his eye with both hands, howling in pain. Even though I didn't witness the scene myself, just thinking about it sends a chill down my spine. The moment my mother stepped into the police station, the boy's parents rushed at her and pinned her to the ground. The boy's father, furious, clenched his fist and threw a hard punch straight at my mother's nose. The boy's mother then climbed on top of her and started slapping her face repeatedly, hitting her over a dozen times. I didn't witness the scene myself, but by all accounts, it was particularly gruesome. Several police officers tried to intervene, but they were completely unable to restrain the man's parents. That little boy was an excellent student. He wore glasses, but his prescription wasn't very strong. His vision could have been corrected with surgery. Furthermore, his family had connections, and the boy was planning to apply to a military academy in the future. The little boy's left eye was completely ruined after his sister carved words into it. A large amount of ink had entered the boy's eye. When he was brought to the hospital, the doctors immediately flushed it with saline solution. However, after a thorough examination, it was determined that his cornea had been damaged. The boy suffered from corneal epithelial detachment and conjunctival edema. The situation was extremely serious. There is a very high probability that the boy will be permanently blind in his left eye. Given the severity of the consequences, my sister's actions constitute intentional harm. Furthermore, my sister just turned 18 last month. The police immediately took her into custody. My mother was assaulted by the other party's parents at the police station, yet, she remained utterly heartbroken over her youngest daughter. My mother first pleaded desperately with everyone she could, and then she fell to her knees, begging. After all, Zena is in her final year of high school, with just 2 months left before she takes the college entrance exams. My mom certainly doesn't want to ruin her precious daughter's bright future. After much negotiation and mediation, it was concluded that the boy and Zena were in a romantic relationship, and the eye tattoo was something the other party agreed to. So, the matter was only settled after our family paid the other party 100,000 yuan in compensation, but 100,000 yuan was an astronomical sum for our family. My dad was just a construction worker, and ever since my younger sister was born, my mom had been a full-time homemaker, and Zena had always been competitive from a young age, wanting the best food and the finest clothes. So, for the past few years, even though I've been sending money home every month since I started working, our family has absolutely no savings to speak of. To scrape together that 100,000 yuan, my parents went back to their old village. They went door to door, practically begging on their knees, borrowing from every single relative and neighbor they could find. They barely managed to get the money together. After paying that money, my parents were saddled with a mountain of debt. Now, every time my dad sees Zena, his eyes burn with anger. My mom can't help but shake her head in despair, saying over and over that Zena is nothing but trouble. As luck would have it, right at that very moment, I was transferred from my original branch office to the company headquarters. My workplace also shifted from the suburbs to the city center. In my previous life, I had always lived at home with my parents. It was because of the job transfer that I ended up renting a small apartment near the city center and moving out on my own. Only my parents and Zena knew the address of my apartment. And precisely because of that, after I ruined Zena's little rendezvous with that man who had HIV, Zena went and gave my new address directly to him. To make matters worse, she even gave that man a spare key to our house. Doing the math, Zena must have started an online romance recently. After being released from the police station, she had only just met the man. At that thought, I made a point of announcing it to the whole family. Mom, Dad, there's been a change with my job. So I've decided to move out and get my own place. I found a small apartment downtown that I really like. The rent is $800 a month, and I've already put down a deposit, so I won't be coming home to live anymore. When my parents heard I'd rented an apartment, they both immediately started in on me, giving me an absolute earful. My mother jabbed her finger against my forehead. Irene, you're nothing but an ungrateful wretch. Do you have any idea what our family is going through right now? Money is tight, and yet here you are, living it up on your own. So what if your new job is a bit farther from home? You can get up at 4 a.m., take a few extra subway transfers, and still make it to work on time. My dad said the same thing. $800 a month for rent. That's as much as our whole family spends on food in a month. Irene, you're a goddamn spendthrift. I'm gonna beat the living daylights out of you tonight. In my past life, because I secretly rented a place on the side. My father, in a drunken rage, beat me with his belt until I was covered in bruises. Early the next morning, my parents went to see the landlord to demand a refund of the rent. However, I had already signed the lease. Not only had I paid 6 months rent up front, but I had also put down a 3,000 yuan security deposit. The contract clearly stated that the deposit was non-refundable. My parents couldn't bear to lose that 3,000 yuan, coupled with my desperate pleas and promise to send them an extra 1,000 yuan for living expenses each month. They finally allowed me to move out. This time, I'm not giving them a single extra cent, and I certainly won't let my dad lay a finger on me. Right then, my dad walked into the room to get his belt. At the same time, I let out a loud shout, frozen in place. What do you all want from me? Everything I've done has been for this family, but you've never once tried to understand me. I ran up to Zena and grabbed her hand. Listen, sis, I want to move downtown. It's only because there are more jobs there. I can work my day job and then pick up a side gig in the evenings. All I want is to earn some extra money, so I can help put you through college someday. And on top of that, you're suspended from school now. It must be so boring, stuck at home every day. I was just thinking. I have an apartment downtown. When you're out shopping and get tired, you can always come over to my place to rest. You could even bring your classmates and friends over to my place for a party. Little sister, Mom and Dad don't love us at all. It just breaks my heart. I feel so wronged. I cried while holding Zena's hand. Hearing this, Zena immediately spoke up. Have you two old fools lost your minds? Why are you yelling at my sister? My sister is right. I want to bring friends home for a party. But our place is so small, it's just embarrassing. Having a place downtown is what gives you real status. If you two old fools dare to bully my sister, I'll go on a hunger strike tonight. What rotten luck, being born into this family of yours. Seeing Zena's fury, my parents instantly fell silent. My mother hesitated for a long while, just looking at Zena with heartache. My good girl, the apple of my eye. You absolutely must not go on a hunger strike. If you skip a single meal, it would break your mother's heart. My dad also put down the belt in his hand and hurried over to comfort Zena. My dear daughter, since you agreed to your sister renting a place outside, I won't say another word about it. As long as you're happy, I'll do anything for you. In an instant, the previously tense and hostile atmosphere melted away, replaced by one of complete warmth. My mom spent a good while calming Zena down. Only then did she turn and fix me with a hard stare. Listen to me, Irene. Tomorrow, you will give Zena a spare key to that place. She is welcome to come over and hang out anytime she likes. You'd better take good care of your sister, or else, you'll have me to answer to. Hearing this, I gave a calm smile. Don't worry, Mom, I've got it covered. Early the next morning, I packed up my things and moved out. However, I didn't move into the new apartment I had just rented. Instead, I moved into the company dormitory. as for that apartment, right after I secured the lease, I immediately sublet it to a bald guy who had just been released from prison. Only a few days had passed. I was still at work when Zena called me in a hurry. Sis, what's the deal with your place? It's so embarrassing. I took some friends over to hang out. Right in the middle of it, this big bald guy barges in. He even claimed it was his house. The guy's face was covered in scars, and he was about to start a fight with us. I pretended to be upset and said over the phone, Sis, there's been trouble with that apartment. I've got nowhere to stay now, so I'm crashing at a friend's place. It's all because the old landlord is a real piece of work. He double rented the place. He didn't just rent it to me, he rented it to someone else too. That big, scary-looking bald guy was so intimidating. I had no chance against him, so I had no choice but to move out. Sis, are you okay? Nothing happened today, right? How about you guys go hang out somewhere else? I can send you a little money. At this point, I feigned surprise and said, oh dear, it's just a shame I don't have much cash on me right now. But, Dad's at work today, and Mom's out visiting, the house is empty. Why don't you and your friends just head back to our place? Zena heard what I said and gave me an earful over the phone, but in the end, there was nothing she could do about it. The moment I hung up, I immediately called Baldy. That Baldy is actually my colleague's older brother. He just has a tough look. The scar on his face isn't from a knife fight or anything. He got it as a kid when he fell out of a tree and got scraped by a branch. He ended up in prison because when he was young, he had a craving for something different and went up the mountain to catch birds. He accidentally ate a rare, protected species, got sentenced to 8 years for it. I sublet the place to him for just $500 a month. My only condition was that he install surveillance cameras in the house to keep an eye on my sister's movements. Just as I expected, the moment my call connected, Baldy started talking to me, absolutely buzzing with excitement. Irene, your sister is absolutely off the charts. You have no idea. The moment I walked in the door, I saw clothes scattered all over the floor. Your sister was rolling around in bed with some old geezer, and they were getting all lovey-dovey, practically glued to each other. I'm sending you the security footage right now. That old guy looks like he's pushing 50 at least. I can't believe your sister would go for that. My colleague's brother looks quite intimidating, but he's actually a really nice guy. He kept gossiping to me non-stop. He even said that old man was as skinny as a rake on top, but his lower body was all swollen, with a rear end as big as a sandbag. I reminded him over the phone, Hank, that man has HIV. You'd better thoroughly disinfect your entire place immediately. Change all the bed sheets and duvet covers for new ones, and I really appreciate your help with this. Could you please send me the surveillance video in a bit? I'll take you out for a meal when we both have some free time. Hank chatted with me on the phone for a while, gossiping about this and that. Before long, he sent the video over. I stared at the man on the monitor, dark-skinned, older, with a receding hairline that was starting to look like a monk's tonsure. I was so overwhelmed that my eyes welled up with tears. That's him. In her past life, my sister was into the slow feet subculture. She believed that contracting a disease was the ultimate way to look cool. She even talked about having children while infected, insisting on at least 4 kids. The younger you were when giving birth, the more trendy it was considered. So, she deliberately sought out an online relationship in a group chat and ended up with this man, divorced 3 times and living with HIV. I will never forget the moment that man pinned me down beneath him to infect me. He didn't just assault me, he deliberately bit my arm with his teeth, making it bleed profusely. Afterward, I desperately wanted to rush to the hospital for shots and PEP, post-exposure prophylaxis. But that man callously tied my feet with a rope and held me captive in the house for a full week. Given a second chance at life, I won't let a single one of them off the hook. Not Zena, not my parents, not anyone who ever wronged me. With nowhere else to go after leaving the rental, Zena and that man had no choice but to go back to my parents' house. That very night, my mother couldn't wait to call me. She launched into a tearful tirade over the phone, saying she'd come home and caught my sister in the act with some other man. Your sister must be desperate. She'll take anything she can get. That man looks about the same age as your father. He's so tacky and ugly. I just can't take this anymore. Irene, what on earth are we going to do? When will Zena ever grow up? Even if she wants to date someone, she can't possibly pick someone that much older. At that moment, my mother still didn't know the man had HIV. I didn't really respond to my mom, just mumbled a few vague words before hanging up the phone immediately. Right after that, I sent Zina a message on WeChat. I told her that I'd support her no matter what she did. I said that in this day and age, love is free, and age shouldn't stand in the way of two people's relationship. I also told Zina that if she and her boyfriend were short on cash, my mom's bankbook was in the second drawer under the bedside table. The password was her birthday. Hearing my support, Zina was over the moon with excitement. She even said that the rest of our family was hopelessly old-fashioned, and that I was the only one who truly cared for and understood her. Sure enough, about a week or so later, something major happened in our family. It was a Friday, and my dad was at work on the construction site. It was also the afternoon, the time when my mom was usually out playing mahjong. Zina actually brought her boyfriend home, and the two of them planned to steal my mom's bankbook, but to their utter shock, because it was raining that day, work at my dad's site was called off. He came home early. The moment my dad opened the door, he found the house had been ransacked. Zina and a middle-aged man were half undressed. They were wearing my mom's gold chains and rings around their necks and hands. The bankbook was on the coffee table. The two of them were going at it on the sofa. Seeing this, my dad saw red. A surge of rage shot to his head, and he immediately charged into the room and started grappling with the man. Just then, my mom, having lost quite a bit at mahjong and realizing she didn't have enough cash, was heading home to get some change. As soon as I walked in, I saw the whole fight. I have to say, that guy was a real fighter. He took on my dad and mom all by himself, actually bit a chunk of flesh out of my dad's shoulder. He also bit my mom's cheek, breaking the skin. Maybe the guy was born in the year of the dog. It was like a rabies outbreak. He was biting anyone in sight. That man beat up my dad, and then my mom took the bank book, all the cash and gold jewelry from the house, and actually ran off with Zina. Furious, my parents went to the police station to file a report, but since it was a domestic matter, the police couldn't do much. They just took a statement and told my parents to go home and wait. In the meantime, I immediately asked my boss at work for a business trip assignment so I could get out of town and lay low for a while. After all, I'd been bitten and my skin was broken by someone with HIV, but if you take the post-exposure prophylaxis within 72 hours, it can still be effective. I won't even consider telling my parents the truth until the quarantine period is over. Being away from home was pure agony. I kept glancing at my watch every few minutes. After more than 10 days had passed, well beyond 72 hours, even 172 hours, I finally used the excuse of checking in to turn on my phone and call home. The moment the call connected, my parents launched into a tearful outpouring of complaints. They said Zina ran away, and that from now on, I'm their only daughter. They said all the money in the house was stolen, even my grandmother's heirloom, a 7-gram gold ring, was taken by my sister. At that moment, a faint smile touched my lips as I spoke into the phone. Mom, Dad, you didn't get hurt when you were fighting with that man, did you? Zina's boyfriend. He has HIV. If there was any blood involved, it's a 100% chance of infection. Wouldn't that mean you're doomed right along with him? There was a stunned silence on the other end of the line for several minutes after I spoke. This was immediately followed by a piercing, agonized scream. My parents are elderly and frail. A virus like HIV was naturally something they couldn't escape. After my parents were diagnosed with HIV, I pretended to have a slip of the tongue. I accidentally let the news of their infection slip in the family group chat. Our hometown was a small town to begin with. In a place that's small, gossip spreads like wildfire. Within a matter of days, the whole town knew my parents were living with HIV. My dad got fired from his construction job. All the neighbors started avoiding him and my mom. Our relatives and friends distanced themselves even more. On top of that, my parents had racked up a debt of 100,000 yuan. The villagers we owed money to, all dressed in white lab coats and wearing gas masks, blocked the entrance to our house. They were forcing my parents to repay the debt. Amidst all the chaos and commotion, over 3 months passed. My father simply couldn't bear the immense pressure any longer. After discussing it with my mother, the two of them, shockingly, drank paraquat together. After my parents died, Zina completely vanished without a trace. Another 2 years passed. I got a call from the police. They said Zina was dead, and that she had died abroad. Being with that man, Zina had naturally contracted HIV, and Zina did manage to get pregnant. Over the course of 2 years, she gave birth to 2 children for that man. but with no money to raise the kids. The man had a sudden change of heart. He actually suggested taking Xena on a trip abroad. That man took Xena abroad with the intention of harvesting her organs, but the overseas organ harvesting ring wasn't stupid. They ran a check on Xena and discovered she had HIV. That's when they realized they'd been conned. In retaliation, the overseas gang detained both Xena and the man. They turned them into human vases, amputating their limbs and placing them in jars for exhibition. Less than 2 weeks after being sealed in the jars, both of them died from infection. When I heard the news of Xena's death, I was utterly heartbroken and wept uncontrollably. In my past life, I devoted myself wholeheartedly to being a good daughter and a good sister. I gave everything I had, hoping just once to earn my family's love in return. It's only now that I finally understand. Love is not something you earn by giving. The person you should love most is actually yourself. Story 2. I'm a coward. When the zombie virus broke out, I stocked up on a large amount of supplies in advance, only thinking about surviving on my own. But the security guard at the entrance of the community is really handsome. My heart skipped a beat, and I brought him home by the way. After all, in the apocalypse, it's too boring to be alone. One, bang, a loud noise woke me up from my sleep. I rubbed my bleary eyes and walked to the window to look down. A group of ants who had just survived a midlife crisis were whipping their whips wildly. I don't know how good physical fitness this kind of noise-making exercise can bring them. Since I was already awake, I casually picked up my phone and started scrolling through the news highlights. Suddenly, my friend sent me a video. In the video, several foreigners injected a tube of mysterious liquid into a man tied to a stool. After a while, the man suddenly went crazy, twisting his body continuously and letting out roars. After struggling for a few minutes, he fell silent. Seeing this, the others planned to untie him from the stool, and the person filming the video was also about to end the recording. Suddenly, the man who had been injected with the mysterious liquid bit the person who approached him. Everyone scattered in fear. The camera was knocked to the ground by the fleeing cameraman and happened to be facing the bitten person. After a moment, the bitten person stood up in a twisted posture. Just like the zombies in The Walking Dead, the screen stopped abruptly. I was stunned by this clear and real video. After a while, I asked her, "Damn, is this real or fake?" My friend replied, "I've already shown it to several friends who work in post-production and photography. I'm afraid this video is real." Based on my understanding of my friend, she has never joked. It seems that the end of the world is really here. Although I usually love watching horror movies and novels of this kind, I never thought that such a thing would really happen. I forced myself to calm down and think of a countermeasure. Damn it, why don't I have an end-of-the-world system? How can a girl like me, who even slacks off on the youth university study, survive? 2. When I was feeling restless, a certain gaming app reminded me that today's task hadn't been completed yet, and what I love to do the most in the game is to lie low. There's no way I'm running away. I'm not cunning enough to outwit others. What if I'm killed on the way? I'd better just lie low. After determining the strategy for surviving the apocalypse, I quickly rushed to the supermarket downstairs and carried out a round of looting. Dried fruits, instant noodles, self-heating pots, beef jerky, basically all the foods with a long shelf life in the store were cleared out by me. Looking at the 7 small carts filled with food in front of me, I couldn't help but feel a sense of satisfaction. And the supermarket manager was very observant. He quickly told me that they had a free delivery service, and I just needed to leave my address. This undoubtedly helped me a great deal. My house belongs to my boss. He is very busy with work and is always flying around the world. I've been in charge of cleaning and tidying up this 500 square meter penthouse. As long as my boss isn't at home, I can live here for free. For a beautiful woman like me who has just graduated and finally found a job, this is simply a wonderful thing that fell from the sky. I piled the bought food in the utility room, and then I called the water delivery guy and bought a full 100 buckets of water. After the person on the other end of the phone confirmed with me several times, they finally sent someone to deliver the water to me. The water delivery service in the community is contracted by a company. My boss has deposited a lot of money there, and this bill was directly deducted from my boss's prepaid deposit. Moreover, the house my boss bought is in a high-end community. The main door at the entrance is a heavy-duty anti-theft door, not to mention ordinary zombies. Even if a gargantuar, the giant zombie in Plants vs. Zombies, came, it might not be able to pry the door open. When I was about to lie down and relax comfortably, My phone prompted that the battery was low, which made me clear about my next plan: electricity, water, and medicine. I opened the web page and quickly placed an order for several household light noise solar panels, a water softener, a small medical sterile water processor, a household intelligent automatic water pump, and a central water purifier. After buying these things, I thought that since it was for my boss's house, I directly asked for an invoice and applied for company reimbursement. When the company saw that it was the decoration cost of my boss's house, they didn't review my receipts too carefully and quickly transferred the money to my card. At the same time, I also bought a large number of commonly used medicines through the food delivery app. I also contacted a colleague who had just had an operation and bought some antibiotics from him at a high price. Out of kindness, I reminded him to stock up on more supplies and then go home quickly. In this regard, I can be considered to have done my best. On WeChat, I joined a WeChat group of weapon enthusiasts. On the surface, they are a group of cold weapon enthusiasts, but privately they also sell high-quality weapons. I contacted one of the insiders and bought weapons and equipment such as a compound bow, a crossbow gun, a three-edged bayonet, and several tear gas grenades from them. Next, I placed an order for professional-grade soundproof panels and laid them in all the rooms where mechanical and electronic devices were operating. Because when the end of the world comes, everyone will be afraid to make a sound, and a place with sound is likely to attract the attention of zombies. I'm a professional when it comes to being afraid of death. 6 days after I was all prepared, a video on the internet caused an uproar. When a cargo ship was unloading goods, the door of a container suddenly opened, and a large number of zombies rushed out, attacking the port workers and biting anyone they saw. Everyone's fear spread instantly, and a large number of people flooded into the mall to go on a shopping spree, and I was no exception. Although I had already prepared sufficient supplies, it's better to be safe than sorry. I purchased a large number of seeds and seasonings, and I also bought a few white mice, which would be convenient for me to test for poison in the future. When I went home satisfied, a sudden change occurred. An infected person rushed into the crowd in the mall from the dark street corner, causing panic and chaos. Everyone scattered and fled for their lives. I noticed it early and pushed the small cart and ran for my life towards home. I was about to enter the community, but iron fences were being set up at the entrance of the community. Fortunately, I was familiar with the security guard at the entrance. He saw that I wasn't infected with the zombie virus and left a small gap for me to quickly enter. I didn't have time to be grateful and rushed in first. After getting out of danger, I had no strength left at all and could only push the cart and walk slowly towards home. After the security guard finished setting up the iron fence, he also quickly ran towards the security room. How could the security room possibly stop the zombies? Well, saving a life is better than building a 7-story pagoda. Moreover, the security guard is quite handsome, and he is strong and healthy, which is a great help in the apocalypse. I invited this guy to go upstairs with me. The guy also knew that the situation was urgent. After thanking me, he picked me up and pushed the cart forward with a fierce rush. He ran like the wind all the way, for the spread of the zombies was extremely fast. While we were going upstairs, some zombies had already started wandering at the entrance of the community. Fortunately, there were iron fences surrounding it, so the zombies couldn't enter the community. The security guard is a former soldier. He came to be a security guard here because the salary is high, and his physical fitness is excellent. I was so tired that I lay on the ground and didn't want to move, but he still had the mind to look at the situation of the spread of the zombies on the windowsill. After a while, my soul that had just run away finally returned to my body. I took a sip of water and then showed the guy the supplies and equipment I had bought. Since I was already familiar with this guy, and he had just helped me, I didn't have too much guard. I took the guy to visit the house and the stored supplies. The guy obviously had a narrow vision and said, "Is it necessary to stock up on so many things?" But the facts in the future proved the importance of these things, because there were a large number of items and equipment stored in the rooms. Only one of the 8 rooms was available for living. The guy didn't care about this and said that as long as there was a place to live, even the living room would be fine. After solving the guy's accommodation problem, the guy and I worked together to block the extremely heavy auspicious Guangdong statue that my boss placed at the entrance with it in front of the door. Just in case, the guy and I had dinner and chatted on the bed. Soon, I felt sleepiness coming. My upper and lower eyelids seemed to be fighting, and I couldn't hold on any longer. I fell into a deep sleep. I don't know how long it had passed, but a loud noise woke me and the guy up. I opened my phone to check the time. 4:02 in the morning. The sound came from the entrance of the community. We walked to the balcony and looked outside. A fleeing SUV crashed through the iron fence and rushed in. The huge noise and the car alarm attracted a large number of zombies. They swarmed in and broke into the community. The guy and I looked at everything in front of us in surprise. If the guy hadn't come upstairs with me, those hordes of zombies would probably have rushed into the security room in an instant and torn him apart and eaten him. The guy and I couldn't help but shiver, looking at the guy's stunned expression. I'm sure he was greatly shocked inside. 5. The guy and I continued to stand on the balcony to observe the situation. More and more people in the community heard the noise and came to the window to look outside. One household turned on the lights. In the extreme darkness, the light attracted both us and the zombies at the same time. A large number of zombies rushed towards the unit building where he was. Although he reacted quickly and turned off the lights immediately, a large number of zombies still paced around the building and refused to leave. The guy and I looked at each other and said, "These zombies have a strong phototaxis, and when the target disappears, they will stand in place or pace in a small area, as if they are saving energy." The guy scratched his head and asked, "Saving energy? Aren't these things dead? Why do they still need to save energy?" Although I, a beautiful woman, like to slack off and am not very smart, I have still learned the law of conservation of energy. I explained to the guy, if the zombies consciously reduce energy consumption, it means that they also have to follow the law of conservation of energy. The whole body's soft tissues of the corpse will also have the processes of decay, disintegration, collapse, and digestion. Then, after more than a month, they will disappear naturally. After hearing my words, the guy fell into thought and said, "But there are so many people in the city, and the food supply is definitely not enough. It's possible that everyone won't be able to hold on for a month and will have to go out to find food, and people's actions of going out to find food and such will be risky, and the zombie horde will definitely be replenished. Indeed, in the city, there are probably very few people who can stock up on as many supplies as I did. With so many people in the whole city, being infected in batches is enough to deplete our resources." Thinking of this, the light that had just appeared in my eyes gradually dimmed. The guy didn't continue this topic either. Instead, he patted me on the shoulder and told me to go back to sleep for a while. 6. When I opened my eyes again, the world had changed. At 9 o'clock in the morning, the guy woke me up and also told me some bad news. The community that was relatively safe last night has now become a living hell today. The guy said, "This morning, some people organized an attempt to escape from the community. As a result, when this group of people were running, they didn't have time to close the unit door, which led to a large number of zombies rushing in. Those who ran out were also overwhelmed by the continuous stream of zombies, and in the end, no one was able to escape." Looking at the guy's solemn expression, I also showed a little sadness. After the guy's mood calmed down, I comforted him, "Brother, in the apocalypse, we have to protect ourselves first so that we won't cause trouble for the country and can make contributions to the country. Only if there are fewer infected people can everyone lift the risk more quickly." The guy is indeed a former soldier. His awareness is really high. After hearing my words, the guy also made up his mind to lie low in the house with me and not cause trouble for the country. After establishing a revolutionary front with the guy, this beautiful woman planned to start consuming the supplies. I asked the guy to move the 100 buckets of water to the cool room, and then I went to the kitchen to show off my cooking skills. For a female otaku like me who is afraid of death, my cooking skills must be at the maximum level. I took out 2 tomahawk steaks belonging to my boss from the refrigerator, while the stove could still be used. I put the pan on and started frying the steaks at the same time. Worried that the guy wouldn't have enough to eat, I also learned from a certain Douyin video and made a pot of braised rice with mushrooms and eggplant. After a while, my steak and braised rice were finally ready to be served. I couldn't resist my craving and went to get a large bottle of cola. It can be regarded as finding some pleasure in the bitterness. In the apocalypse, eat as much good food as you can. The guy finished moving the things and came over. When he saw the food on the table, he looked at me in surprise. "Is this so luxurious?" Looking at the guy's stunned gaze, I couldn't help but feel a little proud. "Brother, these supplies are enough for the 2 of us to eat until next year. Of course, we should eat the food with a short shelf life first." After hearing this, the guy quickly exclaimed, "Fortunately, you took me in, otherwise, I would have already become, well, anyway, from now on, if you tell me to go east, I will never go west. To prevent the guy from continuing to lament, I quickly served the guy a bowl of rice. Brother, try my cooking. Perhaps my cooking skills conquered the guy's stomach. Anyway, during the meal, the guy didn't say anything more. 7. After the guy and I drank the happy water, we leaned comfortably against the back of the chair and looked outside. There were zombies wandering downstairs. Bored, the guy and I played the self-created End of the World Connect 4. The guy, look at that man in the yellow clothes. He's from the 12th floor of Building 3, me, oh, yes, that woman in the blue clothes seems to be his girlfriend. Just when the guy and I were having a great time playing, a black shadow suddenly fell from the sky. It's a zombie. A mutating zombie fell from upstairs, just like in Resident Evil. When humans mutate into zombies, they will vomit wildly. That's right, this falling guy vomited all over my window. I remember that there are no zombies in our building. The guy is indeed a former soldier. Facing such a disgusting scene, he can still think calmly. Indeed, if the zombies can't get in, it's impossible for them to infect people through the way of biting and spreading. Then, before I could finish speaking, the guy and I almost simultaneously thought of the transmission route that doesn't use humans as a medium. Tap water, in order to ensure that the tap water could still be used. I immediately found the white mice I had bought earlier and planned to conduct an experiment with them. These white mice were still lively and energetic when they saw me. Presumably, they couldn't wait to test the water with their own bodies to thank me and the guy for taking care of them in the past 2 days. To meet their eager expectations, I selected a large white rat from them. After watching it drink the tap water, we waited for its reaction. 1 minute, 2 minutes, 10 minutes passed. And it was still safe and sound. Just when the guy and I thought our guess was wrong, I suddenly realized and said, oh, it should be the triple water purification device that I asked the workers to install earlier that worked. Sorry, I forgot. The guy was speechless. Just when I was at a loss in this awkward atmosphere, my phone, which hadn't received any messages for a long time, suddenly vibrated. Hello, is that Xiao Yuan? I remember you live in your boss's house, right? Didn't you install a lot of equipment for your boss some time ago? Well, the company has decided to take emergency shelter there. Let's set a time, and you come down to meet us. That voice, even if my throat was scalded by boiling water, I could still recognize it as the voice of that hateful business supervisor. He had been excluding me and making things difficult for me before the end of the world, and I really hated him. Now he actually dares to cause trouble for me. Just watch how I act. I said excitedly into the phone, are you guys coming to save me, supervisor? The worker who installed the equipment in my boss's house suddenly mutated the other day, and I've been hiding in the closet. Please come and save me quickly. Do. The busy tone of the phone interrupted my wonderful performance. That son of a bitch hung up the phone immediately when he heard there was danger. Does he still expect this beautiful woman to help him? Bah. But the guy also heard the conversation just now. In order not to let the guy think I'm a cruel person, I explained, you don't know how they bullied me usually. They took advantage of their higher positions and often asked me to write things for them. I had to work overtime until very late every day. If it weren't for the sake of living in my boss's house, I would have knocked that supervisor's head crooked. After hearing my description, the guy just smiled indifferently and said, didn't you tell me about it before? In the apocalypse, we should first protect ourselves. The guy's words of comfort instantly warmed my heart. I walked over and gave the guy a gentle hug. Thank you. The guy also stroked my head and kept comforting me. But in fact, this beautiful woman has no heart. I just suddenly thought the guy has a good figure and wanted to take advantage of him. I couldn't find an opportunity to get close to him before. And now I just happened to take this opportunity to have a good feel. Forgive me for being so vulgar. Just as I was getting overly close to him, the guy sensed something was wrong. He quickly pulled me away. Seeing the happy smile on my face, the guy looked embarrassed. 9. To make up for the loss that the guy suffered from my taking advantage of him, I spent the whole afternoon teaching the guy to play VR games and watch movies. And we had a great time. However, when I went to get the ingredients to cook dinner in the evening, I found that the door connecting to the fire escape in the kitchen compartment had been opened. The relaxed string in my heart suddenly tightened. There are only 2 keys to the door connecting to the fire escape. One is with me, and the other is with my boss. But with my boss abroad, who could have opened the door? As a senior zombie movie fan who has watched Train to Busan and Resident Evil 5 times, I deeply understand the horror of human nature. The person who could open our door is definitely not an ordinary person. Someone with such skills and techniques can play a great role in the apocalypse, but if he wants to deal with us, it will be troublesome. But as it was getting close to evening, the fire escape had become pitch black. I called the guy and told him what had happened. After a brief discussion, the two of us made a bolt with thick iron wire and iron nails on both sides of the door. Then nailed it firmly to the wall. After that, we found an iron rod and placed it horizontally. A simple door latch was made. Regarding the matter of dealing with the uninvited guest, the guy and I thought about it. There are many uncertain factors outside now. The zombies have been around for so many days, and the people who have survived should have already hidden well. I'm afraid that the water source is now the fastest way of transmission. And we still don't know how many people and zombies there are in the building. In case someone takes advantage of our absence to occupy our place and locks me and the guy outside the door, it will be a great loss, but this debt must be remembered. So the guy and I began to take stock of the supplies in the kitchen. Maybe it's because my memory is too bad. I forgot how many things there were originally here. It just seems that there is a little less roughly. I think if we take you to deal with that locksmith, I'm afraid our chances of winning are not high. So we can only use the one-time solution that will get rid of the trouble forever. So the two of us nailed the door shut. I rummaged through my boss's house and found a decoration collection box that was given when buying the house. Then I removed the iron rack that my boss used to store wine in the small dark room. After a lot of knocking, I finally made it realize its value in another form. The guy and I looked at the door in front of us with satisfaction. Although it was a bit ugly, it was really practical. As long as this wall can't be pushed down, this door can't be opened. 10. After solving the problem of the door, I started to prepare dinner. I poured pak choy, enoki mushrooms, and tomatoes into the pot. Then took out the beef rolls that I had stocked up on from the refrigerator and slowly put them into the pot. And added some seasonings. A pot of delicious tomato beef soup was ready. Then I rummaged through my boss's collection and found an imported ham. I cut off part of the skin, took a small part and cut it into thick pieces, buried it in the rice, and then poured in some soy sauce and scallions. A bowl of extremely simple lazy braised rice was completed. Just as the guy and I were about to start eating, the buzzing sound downstairs caught our attention. The guy and I crouched by the windowsill while eating and looked towards the source of the sound. We saw several modified cars slowly driving in through the damaged part of the iron fence. When the zombies in the community heard the commotion, they all ran towards the cars. There were many round holes on the glass of the modified cars, and dozens of sharp iron rods extended out from inside and stabbed at the zombies. After a while, most of the zombies in the community were cleared out. But the observant guy noticed that these clearing teams had deliberately left a few zombies with weak mobility. This strange behavior aroused the vigilance of the guy and me. After these people cleared out the zombies, they surrounded the iron fence again and then shouted loudly, "We are here for rescue. Please transfer to a safe place with us immediately." Just as the guy and I were judging the authenticity of his words, an iron hook with a plastic bag slowly hung down to the window. In an instant, the guy and I looked at each other, then opened the window and quickly brought the plastic bag in. A walkie-talkie lay quietly in the bag. 11. Hello, hello, can you hear me? Can you hear me? Don't believe their words, don't go down. Although the guy and I didn't plan to leave here originally, the words of this mysterious person aroused our curiosity. Why can't we go? Since this beautiful woman has social anxiety, I left the task of communicating with the outside to the guy. Anyway, just watch, don't go down. This time, the other person's voice was very urgent, as if our choice might affect him. After hearing this, the guy and I carefully considered it and decided to agree with him first and make a decision after we knew what these people were going to do. While we were talking, quite a few people had already gone down, roughly counting. There were actually more than a quarter of the total number of people in the community. Those survivors who went down were gathered by the clearing teams on the lawn in the center of the community. At this time, the leader of the clearing team got out of the car. If you want to enter the shelter, you have to pass the assessment. The shelter doesn't accept useless people. After saying that, his subordinates released all the zombies that had just been caught, and then they quickly got back into the car. Those zombies pounced on the survivors as soon as they saw them. And the people also started to find things to resist. Just as the guy and I were worried about those survivors, the voice of the mysterious person came from the walkie-talkie again. Considering that I saved you, give me some water, let's be friends, I'll tell you the news as soon as I get it in the future. After hearing this, the guy frowned and began to weigh the pros and cons. When it came to the issue of giving up supplies, my mind started to work immediately. Although this mysterious person didn't know that I had installed a 3-layer water purification device, he knew that we had stocked up on water, and the only person who knew that I had stocked up on water was the water delivery guy. However, the water delivery guy was still being chased by zombies downstairs at the moment, so I speculated that he might be the person who came to steal supplies in the afternoon, since our water was stored separately in a room and he couldn't find it. He took this opportunity to negotiate with us. To prove that my train of thought was correct, I overcame my social anxiety and pressed the talk button and said without any context, "Our water is placed in the kitchen." The mysterious person obviously didn't expect me to say such a thing and retorted, "Nonsense." Although he reacted in time and shut up, the guy and I could basically confirm his identity, the locksmith, 12. But just when I was going to further use water as a condition to deal with this locksmith, a sudden urgent shout from the locksmith came from the walkie-talkie. "Hide quickly." The guy pulled me into the dark room where the water was stored without hesitation. In the pitch-black room, besides the gasps of the guy and me, there was also the buzzing sound coming from all directions. Presumably, the locksmith had also hidden in a safe place, and his voice came from the walkie-talkie again. Aerial photography group. There are at least 5 drones observing the buildings in our community. They are after the supplies. Damn it. Then let's go and block the fire escape door downstairs quickly. When I heard this, I immediately became anxious. Don't worry, our unit building is in a remote location. They probably won't be able to come here for a while. Moreover, there are a total of 15 floors in our building, but it seems that there are only the 3 of us in the building. The other rich people seem to have their own sources of information and had already fled for their lives a month before the zombie outbreak was complete. Woo woo, those damn rich people. This is the real way to survive in the apocalypse. I admit that I'm jealous, enjoying the sunshine leisurely on the island, planting the land and basking in the sun every day, then come back after the zombies' bodies rot and collapse. This is simply a pure vacation. What about that zombie that fell from upstairs before? The guy suddenly remembered the zombie that vomited all over my window, the one on the top floor. He seemed to have drunk the contaminated water and then went to the rooftop because he was feeling desperate. Buzz buzz buzz. I found that the buzzing sound around us was gradually getting smaller. Presumably, those people had already finished their investigation. So the guy and I slowly crawled to the windowsill and looked down. We saw that group of people lured those with high combat power and those who hadn't been bitten into their team, and they ran over all the bitten people and zombies with their cars. How could they do this? It's so cruel. I don't understand. My words were accompanied by soft sobs. The guy gently hugged me and patted my back gently. At this moment, I felt extremely at ease. 13. After the people downstairs dealt with the zombies, they drove to building No. 1. Several cars formed a semicircle and blocked the unit door. Then a group of people went to a room on the 5th floor. Presumably, it was the home of a recruited survivor. I saw through the telescope that they are about to rest. The familiar voice came from the walkie-talkie. Then we should not delay. Let's go downstairs and make arrangements. After we finish the arrangements, we'll bring you a bucket of water. The subtext of the guy was very clear. If you don't help, you won't get any water to drink. Okay. Fortunately, the mysterious person was a smart and resolute person and agreed to us without much hesitation. We agreed to meet in the fire escape on the 13th floor. I gave the guy the compound bow and the 3-edged bayonet that I had bought. I put 4 tear gas grenades in the pockets on both sides of my clothes. After getting ready, the guy and I moved the auspicious Guangdong statue aside. With a creaking sound, we slowly opened the door. I'll go get a flashlight. Because of the power outage, the corridor was pitch black. The guy and I slowly walked to the entrance of the fire escape. After opening the door, we saw that the mysterious person was already waiting there. My gaze swept across his pale face, and I couldn't help but exclaim in surprise, Why are you so pale? Aren't you a vampire? Are you this pale all over your body? I was a bit excited because I hadn't seen a living person for a long time. The guy felt a bit embarrassed and covered my mouth with his big hand. Unexpectedly, the mysterious person wasn't angry. Instead, he introduced himself. My name is Leo. I'm a hacker. Before the virus hit, I had already set up monitoring around here and bought some commonly used equipment. But I lacked the awareness of stocking up on supplies. And the food and water I stored weren't enough. That's why I went to your place to get some. I'm really sorry. Then how did you open the door? The guy asked the question that I was most curious about. Could it be that a hacker also has to learn how to pick locks? The data of the keys to the fire escape of our building are all saved in the developer's files. I hacked into it and printed them out with a 3D printer. I was left gaping in amazement. This is a tech geek. Compared with a slacker like me, the way he obtained supplies is simply a crushing blow. If he hadn't forgotten to close the door, I don't think I would have discovered it in my whole life. However, now is definitely not the time to sigh. The top priority is to prevent that group of people from coming up. The three of us shone flashlights and walked downstairs together. Fortunately, Leo wasn't lying. Along the way, we really didn't encounter any zombies or survivors. We could be said to have reached the second floor unobstructed. At the entrance of the fire escape on the second floor, Leo took out a bunch of keys and searched carefully, leaving me and the guy feeling bewildered in the wind. Come on, did you actually get all the keys to this building? Well, why not? I didn't know which house had resources, so I had to check one by one, didn't I? When I thought about it carefully, it seemed to make sense. I thought he got the keys to come in because he knew we had supplies, thinking it was a targeted strike. But I didn't expect that he had a full coverage and actually got all the keys to the whole building. After opening the door, we found that the second floor was still under renovation. Looking at the cement and paint piled on the ground, the guy and I immediately understood what Leo wanted to do. So the three of us tacitly carried several bags of cement to the hall outside the fire escape on the first floor, connected the water pipe, and started mixing the cement. Maybe it was because we had stayed at home for too long, but the three of us also had a great time doing this physical work of mixing cement. Looking at each other's sweaty faces, our guard against each other also decreased. Even so, we didn't notice that a bloody hand suddenly appeared on the tightly closed building door behind us. 15, bang, 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 glass shattered beside our ears, and the three of us quickly turned around to look. We saw a zombie lying in front of the building door, constantly knocking on the glass door. Bang, bang, bang. The crisp sound of the glass was particularly ear-piercing in the dark night. The three of us made a quick decision. The guy and Leo were in charge of opening the door. And I stood in front of the door and aimed the crossbow at its forehead. 1, 2, 3. The guy and Leo pushed the door open a crack. I gripped the crossbow in my hand, aimed, and fired. Hey, don't lower your head. That silver-white light stabbed at the zombie's buttocks with lightning speed. With a crisp ding sound, the arrowhead bounced onto the ground. Damn it, this zombie is wearing iron underpants. You two look. This guy is quite perverted. The guy and Leo, as we were talking. This zombie forced its head into the crack of the door, and the flesh on its ears and face was torn apart. I endured the nausea and pressed the crossbow against its forehead. With a sound, green brain matter flowed all over the ground. Although it looked disgusting, I have watched all kinds of strange horror movies and have a strong adaptability. I quickly felt nothing. The guy has excellent psychological quality and also looked calm. Only Leo started to retch. So disgusting, damn it. Leo might not have seen such a restricted level scene and went aside to vomit. The guy and I, on the other hand, observed this zombie, because we noticed that although this zombie had all its limbs intact, it had been crawling. So, the guy and I dragged this zombie in, and then found a long wooden board on the second floor and stuffed it into the closing handle of the door to seal the door. Don't you think this guy looks a bit familiar? Hearing what the guy said, I also carefully examined this zombie. Damn it, this guy is the one who vomited on our window. I'm not good at remembering other things, but I'm really good at holding grudges. Out of resentment, I kicked it in the calf. Thud, with a dull sound. I sat on the ground in pain, holding my leg. When the guy saw this, he quickly stepped forward to check the zombie's leg and slowly pulled down the zombie's pants. It was wearing an iron pipe with the edges of the circle welded together. We finally knew why it was crawling. This iron pipe restricted its movement, and it would fall down after walking a few steps, presumably, when it felt that it was about to mutate. In order to prevent causing harm to others, it specially wore such a thing. Maybe this is great righteousness. Even if it was going to face death, it would never become a threat to others. If it hadn't mutated, I believe the four of us could form a good team in the apocalypse and live together. 16. Time waits for no one. There is no time to be sentimental anymore. The three of us adjusted our emotions, quickly stirred the cement well, applied it to the part of the copper alloy at the bottom of the door, and then removed the wooden board blocking the door to shape the cement. After doing this, I still didn't think it was safe, so we dragged the cement back to the fire escape, pasted the crack of the door with cement from the inside, then built a low stone platform and blocked the door from the inside. Then we took out all the bags of lime powder on the second floor, removed the doorknob of the fire escape door, and locked the door from the outside. Finally, we poured cement into the keyhole and completely stuck the bolt. After doing all this, it was already dawning. We simply didn't go to sleep and waited for the coming of the decisive battle. Back on the 13th floor, we gave Leo the water we had promised, and then we went back to our respective rooms. The guy originally wanted to invite him to come to our place to discuss countermeasures together, but I stopped him with a look. After closing the door, I said to the guy, "We can't trust others too much. This is the end of the world, and we have to be careful with everyone." The guy was obviously shocked by my words. "So you are so far-sighted. It's really my fault for not thinking it through." At this time, Leo's voice came from the walkie-talkie. "Something's not right." The surveillance I installed in the nearby community captured something approaching our community. What is it? It seems to be a zombie horde. Damn it, is this the end of me? Leo, Guy, do you two like the sunny slope or the shady slope? I'll go down and dig the grave in advance. At least the three of us can be reincarnated after being buried. After hearing this, the guy punched me on the head. "I really admire you. Why are you always so pessimistic? What if they are just passing by?" In the movies we watched, aren't the shelters with a large number of people the ones that are attacked first? What the guy said made sense. Maybe they really were just passing by. Okay, with my last hope, I continued to observe the movements of that group of people. At least we had to solve the problem in front of us first. 17. Time passed, but that group of people didn't move at all. Just when I was feeling drowsy, Leo's voice came from the walkie-talkie again. "Well, I like the shady place. Bury me on the shady slope." "What's going on? Damn it, why are there so many zombies?" I saw a large number of zombies break through the protection of the iron fence and rush into the community. When I was terrified and at a loss, Leo's voice came from the walkie-talkie. "I think it should be because they killed all the people who were just bitten yesterday." The strong smell of blood filled the air, which attracted so many zombies. It seemed to confirm Leo's words. The zombie horde followed the bloodstains on the car tires to the stronghold of that group of people. The whole building was surrounded tightly by the zombie horde. However, without the attraction of the smell of blood, they could only gather downstairs. However, the huge noise of the zombie horde also successfully alerted that group of people. We saw that after a brief moment of panic, they quickly sat together to discuss countermeasures. However, I deeply understand the true meaning of "strike while the iron is hot." If we let them come up with a solution, then we will be in danger. I began to think hard about ways to deal with them. Suddenly, I remembered that I hadn't had breakfast yet. After working all night, I was so tired and needed to eat something to replenish my strength. I opened 2 boxes of self-heating hot pot and 2 packs of self-heating rice and planned to have a meal with the guy first and then think about the next plan. The steaming mist of the hot pot relieved our tense emotions. The guy and I wolfed down the food. The pressure brought by the zombie horde and that group of people was much reduced. At this moment, all I wanted to do was eat. Just as I closed my eyes and indulged in the joy of eating vermicelli, the guy suddenly covered his eyes and began to groan in pain. 18. Guy, what's wrong with you? Guy, this sudden incident made me feel a bit at a loss. Looking at the guy's painful expression, damn it. Could he be mutating? But now that things have come to this, although I don't know why he would mutate, I'm afraid I can't escape this disaster. I let out a long sigh and said, "Well, what's meant to be will be. I'll cut a slit later. Just spit on it. Bro, don't bite me. I'm afraid of pain." You splashed chili oil into my eyes." The guy gave me a look of grief and indignation and then rushed to the kitchen to wash his eyes. Me. I had even planned how to slack off after joining the zombie army, and this is what you tell me. The guy sat back on the chair covering his washed eyes and asked, "Are you Sue Jean from Eternal Love? Don't you covet my eyes?" Me, Guy, be serious. I'm scared. Just as the guy and I were joking with each other, Leo's voice came from the walkie-talkie again. "Be careful. They plan to hang firecrackers on the drones to lure the zombies away." After hearing this, The guy and I immediately returned to our positions and began to observe their every move. We saw that they first launched a drone with firecrackers attached and flew it towards the main gate. When the zombie horde heard the sound, they all moved towards the source of the sound. However, when the firecrackers stopped ringing, the zombie horde had no target and began to sniff the smell of blood again and returned to gather downstairs, just when we thought the other side had run out of ideas. We didn't expect that they controlled a large number of drones and flew them towards the depths of the community, that is, the high-end area where we were. The deafening sound of firecrackers attracted almost all the zombies, and they rushed towards the high-end area where we were at high speed, and that group of people took advantage of this opportunity to rush downstairs, got into the car with lightning speed, and rushed towards the entrance of the community. Damn it. The guy and I almost swore at the same time. Although we had sealed the downstairs tightly, the feeling of being surrounded by zombies was too suffocating. Maybe we would have to worry every day whether the zombies would break through the building door and come in. Such a life would probably drive me crazy. But strangely, when the sound of the firecrackers stopped, the zombie horde didn't stop moving. After losing the guidance of the sound of the firecrackers, they slowly gathered towards the entrance where the smell of blood was the strongest. Soon, almost all the zombies were concentrated at the entrance, and only a small number of them were still wandering in the depths of the community. 19. Hohu, looking at the zombie horde gathering at the entrance, I was as happy as if I had survived a disaster. Don't be too happy too soon. Judging from their mobility, these zombies should have been infected not long ago. If they gather at the entrance, it means we still have to wait for them to decay on their own before we can go out, but our food can't last that long. What if another batch comes after this batch is gone? Indeed, the guy's worry was reasonable. Although our supplies could last for about a year, we still had to plan ahead. If another batch of zombies came a year later, I'm afraid it would be our turn to die. Then how about we? Before I could finish my sentence, my body couldn't hold on anymore. When my tense nerves relaxed a bit, a strong sense of sleepiness swept over me. Go to sleep. I'll call Leo to search for supplies in the building. The guy was like a worm in my belly and even knew what my plan was. The strong sense of sleepiness made my brain almost shut down. I didn't care about being polite to the guy. I fell onto the bed and gradually lost consciousness. 20. When I opened my eyes again, it was already dark. I groped for my phone at the bedside. It was 21:15 now. I actually slept for a whole day. I don't know how much the guy and Leo have found. I walked through the corridor to the living room and saw that the guy and Leo were so tired that they had fallen asleep on the sofa. I found 2 quilts and gently covered the 2 of them, and then walked into the kitchen to make something to eat. My God, I was a bit stunned looking at the large amount of ingredients in the kitchen. Bags of rice and flour almost filled the grain room. The kitchen counter was piled with all kinds of instant food. Even the wine cabinet of my boss was filled with the drinks they had scavenged. While I was shocked by their scavenging ability, a laser shot into the room. I immediately bent down and crouched, hiding under the table. That green laser shone on the ceiling and kept moving. Following the movement track of the light, I found that this person was writing SOS. According to the routine of movies, this person either had no food left or the entrance was blocked by zombies. This kind of side mission of rescuing people is actually quite challenging, but I refused. This person has no kinship with us. Why should I take such a big risk to save him? Moreover, if we save him, there will be one more mouth to feed, which is really not worth it. 21. After a while, the laser disappeared. I don't know if that person gave up. Since the light was shining towards the ceiling, I judged that it should be shining up from downstairs, so as long as we don't get close to this window, he won't find out that there are people in this room. This beautiful woman is really brilliant. I muttered softly and stood up. A green net-shaped laser shone on my face. Damn it, this person knows we're here. I hid for nothing for a long time, obviously. The other side knew our existence, so there was no point in continuing to pretend, so I stood in front of the window, trying to find the source of the light. The first floor, the second floor, the 5th floor. I didn't expect that there were still remnants of that group of people who hadn't evacuated. They were probably left behind. What shocked me even more was that after they saw me show up, they actually had the audacity to run towards our building right in front of my eyes. I counted carefully, and there were actually 4 of them. Goodness me, why didn't they just come quietly? Do robbers these days start with courtesy and then resort to force? I thought about it. I guess they thought I was a soft-hearted person and wanted to use my sympathy to meet them, but after finding that I wouldn't fall for it, they planned to rob us directly. Watching them get closer and closer to this building, I didn't feel nervous at all. In fact, I even felt a little like laughing. All the necessary measures had been taken long ago, and now they were finally going to come in handy. I walked slowly to the open balcony and watched them helpless in front of the sealed unit door. However, that group of people obviously intended to fight a desperate battle. I saw them slowly climbing up to the window on the second floor along the drainage pipe on the first floor and started using kitchen knives and bricks to smash the glass. To prevent them from finding a breakthrough and coming up, I directly took out 2 tear gas grenades that I hadn't used when I went downstairs to block the door. I pulled out the safety pin and threw the 2 tear gas grenades down with all my strength. 22, bang bang. The sound of the tear gas grenades exploding rang in my ears. Painful screams pierced the long night. I quickly closed the balcony door, afraid of waking up the guy and Leo. And the zombies around heard the noise and quickly gathered around. The eyes of those 4 people were blinded by my tear gas grenades, and they panicked all at once. They had to retreat first and fight desperately with the zombies to escape. At the same time, I was surprised to find that these zombies really disliked tear gas. Instead of gathering downstairs because of the smell of blood, they quickly left the area where the tear gas was present. These people are sacrificing their lives to get information from me. I'm really touched by their spirit of sacrificing themselves for others and selfless dedication. While praising those intruders, I wrote down the information that zombies resisted irritating gases. I'll cook some noodles tonight, stew some meat, and boil some instant dumplings to celebrate. As I planned, I started stewing the meat. There was still a lot of frozen meat in the freezer. I picked out a piece of fat and tender streaky pork and put it in the pot to thaw. While it was thawing, I wasn't idle either. I kneaded the dough and cut it into long strips, and then cooked it in the pot together with the dumplings. When the meat was thawed, I made flour cuts and added seasonings to remove the fishy smell, and then put it in the pot to cook. In this way, a table of dumpling soup noodles was ready. I walked to the sofa and gently woke up the guy and Leo. The guy and Leo yawned and sat up, showing off to me the supplies they had carried up with their sleepy eyes. I didn't know whether to laugh or cry and asked the 2 of them to sit at the table and talk while eating. At the dinner table, the 2 of them didn't say anything and just buried their heads in eating. I wasn't to be outdone and started gobbling up the food. Soon, the dinner came to an end under our voracious eating. But after eating to my fill, sleepiness welled up again. So the guy and I said goodbye to Leo, walked back to the room, fell onto the bed, and fell into a deep sleep. 23. In the following month, during the day, we relied on Leo's surveillance to report the situation, and at night, the 3 of us either played cards or watched movies. We didn't find this month boring at all. During this month, the early zombies gradually became dry, shrank, and finally were dried up according to the law of conservation of energy. Even on the streets, human figures gradually appeared. Those gathered zombies were almost dried up too, blocking the entrance of the community, which could be regarded as a protective measure. But we didn't expect that such a zombie wall would save our lives in the future. Although there were still a lot of zombies, human figures appeared on the streets after a long absence. From the surveillance, we saw that many people spontaneously organized teams and started killing zombies on the streets. And these zombies, because their bodies were constantly collapsing, moved very slowly and didn't pose too much danger to these teams, until there was a disagreement within the team. That clearing team is very capable. In just 3 or 4 days, they successfully cleared such a large block. Looking at the guy's admiring expression, I knew that I had to stop the guy from having the idea of joining them and prevent the guy from awakening the spirit of serving the people. I also think they are very heroic, but the zombies' bodies are almost collapsing. I don't think their clearing activities are really necessary. Moreover, if something goes wrong and a strong man turns into a zombie, wouldn't it be a greater threat to others? Besides, their food is not good either. There is no excellent cook like me in their team. They just eat cold, dry food every day. Who can stand that? The internal relationship of their team doesn't seem to be good either. What if someone stabs others in the back? After hearing my words, the guy fell into the process of self-persuasion. 24. Suddenly, a harsh horn sound came over the guy and I looked towards the source of the sound in confusion, and 2 people started arguing for some reason. The people around them kept trying to mediate, but it was of no use. Those 2 people seemed to have had a long-standing grudge. And neither of them was willing to give in. Come with me to the rooftop quickly. Leo's urgent voice came from the walkie-talkie. Hearing Leo's urgent voice, the guy and I didn't dare to be negligent and quickly opened the door and ran towards the top floor. As soon as we pushed open the door to the top floor, the guy and I were shocked by the scene in the distance. We saw huge clouds of dust rising in 3 directions. Moreover, the ground seemed to be shaking at this moment, in this dead city where no one dared to make a sound. A sharp horn sound could attract too many uncertain factors. That clearing team obviously also noticed the problem. Several people stopped arguing and quickly got back into the car, planning to evacuate. From the rooftop, we could see that there were even infected animals among those zombies, and the entire zombie horde rushed towards the clearing team in a mighty manner. The people in the clearing team were obviously battle-hardened. They turned the car around and chose a main road with fewer zombies to escape, and this main road would pass by our community, and the narrow road surface was estimated to limit the pursuit of some zombies, but the truth slapped us in the face. The huge zombie horde didn't pass through obediently in line. The zombies squeezed one after another onto the isolation fence of our community. Finally, the wall and the isolation fence couldn't bear the weight, and with a bang, they ended their duty of guarding. The zombies poured in through the gap. Soon, another section of the wall collapsed with a crash. The last car of the clearing team couldn't avoid it and was pounced on by the zombies that took a shortcut, and the other cars didn't care about it and disappeared without a trace in a flash. A large number of zombies pounced on the windshield, and the car then started to skid, bang, with another loud noise. It crashed through another section of the wall and crashed into the community with a large number of zombies. Troubles came one after another, and all I wanted to do was lie down and do nothing. 25. The car downstairs was still struggling and rampaging in the community. A large number of zombies kept pouring into the community. Soon, the walls and the isolation fences all collapsed. The zombies that could fill half of the community swarmed up and the car. Soon, everything returned to peace again. The zombies lost their target and started standing there in a daze. Woof, woof. The barking of dogs downstairs caught our attention. The 3 of us looked down and saw several zombie dogs constantly rummaging through and barking at the domestic garbage we had produced. Damn it, a dog's sense of smell is 1,200 times that of a human's. They must have smelled the smell of people on the garbage. The guy often dealt with military dogs when he was in the army and knew much more about dogs than Leo and I. Under the continuous howling of the zombie dogs, more and more zombies gathered downstairs. Damn it, look, I called the guy and Leo in a panic. We saw that downstairs on the other side, a stampede occurred among the zombie horde due to the crowding. The zombies at the back stepped on the fallen zombies and kept piling up, just like when the wall was pushed down. Some zombies heard the barking of the dogs and wanted to go there, but the road was blocked by other zombies, so they started pushing forward continuously. My God, do you two think this is like the zombie siege in that World War Z we watched a few days ago? Leo, what time is it now? And you're still joking. Okay, they can't come up, the guy said calmly. The maximum load-bearing capacity of an average person is almost 3 times their own body weight. And these zombies don't have the concept of using heavier ones as the foundation. Fat and thin zombies all rush forward, and the base definitely can't bear such a great gravitational force. 26. Sure enough, what the guy said was right. Looking down from upstairs, the zombies would fall back a certain distance after climbing up a certain distance. However, just watching like this is not a solution. When there are enough foundations, they will still climb up. As soon as Leo's words came out, the 3 of us fell silent again. Indeed, when the remains of the zombies downstairs were continuously compacted, it was equivalent to building a step, and it would be very easy for the zombies behind to climb up. What should we do? I haven't been in love yet. It's a bit of a loss to die like this. The guy and Leo were also infected by my pessimism, and their emotions were very low. Let's go back and have some food before we die. In this way, we'll have the strength to bite people after we mutate. After saying that, I went downstairs first. When I got home, I fried a few cheese dumplings irritably, soaked a few buckets of hot and sour noodles irritably, and fried a pot of cheese and ham fried rice irritably. After I finished eating, the guy and Leo finally gave up trying to find a solution and came home to gobble up the food at lightning speed. Seeing that even the guy and Leo couldn't come up with a solution, This beautiful woman walked to the balcony and planned to throw a few vases downstairs to randomly kill a few lucky ones. If we're going to be unlucky, let's all be unlucky together. But just as I was about to throw them, I suddenly felt that this scene was familiar, as if it had happened before. With my brain constantly working, I remembered that a month ago, I threw tear gas grenades in this way to deal with the intruders. Tear gas grenades. I rushed to the bedroom in a hurry and rummaged out the last 2 tear gas grenades. Guy, Leo, come with me, 27. The 3 of us ran to the top floor together. The zombies downstairs were still squeezing up continuously. The guy has the greatest strength. When I tell you to throw later, you throw as far as you can with all your strength. After saying that, I pulled out the safety pin and threw it towards the group of zombie dogs. Bang! The explosion sound instantly attracted all the zombies, and they swarmed towards the source of the explosion. Guy, throw. The guy pulled out the safety pin and forcefully threw it towards the side where the zombies were climbing the building. With another loud noise, the zombies that were originally climbing the building were instantly attracted and rushed towards the explosion sound, and the irritating gas of the tear gas grenades also successfully interfered with the sense of smell of the zombie dogs. After being briefly attracted by the explosion sound, they quickly left the area where the tear gas was concentrated. Whoosh, we're safe. The 3 of us sat down back to back and watched the zombies gather towards the explosion site. Guy, Leo, do you think zombie dogs eat shit? Ha 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 ha. The 3 of us laughed heartily. This was the feeling of surviving a disaster. The feeling of quickly going out when you suddenly received a message just as your mother was about to beat you and thus avoided being beaten. 28. On the 7th day when we coexisted peacefully with the zombies downstairs, a helicopter broke the long-lost tranquility. Please pay attention to protection. Citizens, the government has developed the corresponding medicine. Supplies will be distributed on a large scale tomorrow. The city has restored the signal and established a network platform. Citizens in urgent need of help can leave a message on the platform. Please, citizens. As the helicopter flew further and further away, the sound gradually disappeared. The zombies are following it. Ha 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 ha. I laughed loudly as I watched the zombies downstairs follow the helicopter and leave. This was the greatest help the government had brought to me. There's a signal, but there's no electricity, Leo said after inserting a tester into the socket. Ha 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 ha. I burst out laughing, opened the message platform, and slowly typed, "Thank you for the government's help, but whose phone still has electricity after being left for so long? If I hadn't prepared a high-power solar generator in advance, I would have been so angry when I heard this news with a phone that had no electricity." However, the fact that the government, which had been silent for so long, came out to rescue at this time meant that the zombies had reached a controllable level. Then the end of the zombie era was just around the corner, according to the usual practice in movies that the protagonist likes to do something stupid at the end. I pulled the guy and Leo and rushed to the 3rd floor. We threw a chair downstairs. The sound of the heavy object hitting the ground instantly attracted more than a dozen zombies that were still wandering in the community, looking at their menacing appearance. The 3 of us slowly stuck our heads out and took a selfie. 29. A few days later, a large number of helicopters flew into the city. The government's actions began. Hordes of helicopters scattered a large amount of white powder, which was said to accelerate the decay of the zombies' bodies. During this period, they also kept taking the survivors to the base. After a few days like this, the whole city became as white as a thick fog. The helicopters didn't come anymore. It was estimated that they had taken away all the people who needed help. The whole city entered the countdown to restart. The water delivery service in the community was contracted by a company. My boss had deposited a lot of money there, and this bill was directly deducted from my boss's prepaid deposit. I'm small, and because I was worried that I would have to work if I went there and it was better to slack off at home. So I stayed at home on the pretext of not adding to the country's burden. The guy listened to my explanation with a smile and said indifferently, "Then I'll stay with you. After all, I promised you, if you tell me to go east, I will definitely not go west." Finally, under the effect of the medicine, the zombies decayed and collapsed at a rapid speed. The government also restored the basic functions of the city with the joint efforts of various talents. The small cities in the 2nd and 3rd tiers, due to their low population density, had recovered first and provided indispensable help for the reconstruction of the big cities. Extra story 1. With the strong promotion of the government, the city started to operate again. The guy, who has a military background, was assigned to maintain public order. and I, of course, continued to slack off at home. There's no way I'm going to work. I'll never go to work in my life. I don't know how to do business either. I can only lie at home and consume supplies to sustain my life. But I'm not just idling at home. Since the city started to operate, I have been studying the changes in housing prices in different areas of the city, because now there are more houses than people. The government has counted all the unoccupied houses and put them up for sale again, but most of the survivors already have their own residences, and they have spent their money on survival supplies. This has led to a rapid decline in housing prices, coupled with the government's urgent need for money. The housing prices are incredibly low, so far. A 150 square meter house costs only 20,000 yuan, and a luxurious duplex villa can be bought for 100,000 yuan, not to mention those small-sized houses. Some of them cost only a few thousand yuan or even a few hundred yuan. After thinking for a long time, I took out all my savings of 1.4 million yuan and the nearly 1 million yuan that the guy had saved over the years and rushed to the sales office built by the government, 4 sets of this villa and 25 sets of this 150 square meter house on the 5th floor and above. How much is this apartment, and those shops? I was frantically buying houses in the sales office like a wealthy lady. When I got home, I told the guy what I had done. I was originally worried that he would blame me for misappropriating his money without permission, but the guy told me, if it weren't for you back then, I might not even have the chance to spend this money. Remember, I will always stand behind you. What you say is what I think. So cheesy. 3 years later, the city has been completely transformed and is so clean that it seems as if the disaster that happened before never existed. Over the years, the continuous development of the city has attracted a large number of young people to seek opportunities. Our houses have also been continuously appreciating in value. I didn't expect that the wish of being a landlady before the end of the world came true after the end of the world. Every month, I can earn tens of thousands of yuan just by moving my fingers. It's so great. The guy has made outstanding contributions in the process of rebuilding the city, and the government has commended him to recognize his excellent qualities. Suddenly one day, I was watching TV when the guy came back and sat beside me without saying a word. I looked at him curiously and saw that his cheeks were crimson, and his 2 hands were nervously picking at his knees. What's wrong? Didn't someone slap you in the face? Why is your face so red? Who dares to hit my man? Let's go, I'll avenge you. Before I could finish my words, he had already kissed my lips, and I closed my eyes. When I opened my eyes again, a huge diamond ring appeared in front of me. I was so touched that I took the diamond ring. Damn, what a huge diamond. How much does this cost? The guy's smile froze on his face immediately, and then he looked at me resentfully. I leaned forward and deepened the kiss just now. Put it on me. I do.